Greetings and welcome to the Public Finance and Taxation Learning Session. We are continuing with the topic Administration of Income Tax and Tax Procedures. In the syllabus, there is the subtopic on Voluntary Tax Disclosure Program. Voluntary Tax Disclosure Program, which was a tax incentive program introduced by the government of Kenya through the Finance Act of 2020 and administered by the Kenya Revenue Authority, whose purpose was to encourage taxpayers to voluntarily disclose previously undeclared tax liabilities. In return for this voluntary disclosure, taxpayers were granted relief on penalties and interests associated with the disclosed taxes, thereby improving tax compliance and boosting revenue collection. As you can see, candidates, it's kind of an outdated aspect here because we are doing this recording in the year 2025. This program was introduced in 2020. So the period of origination of the voluntary tax disclosure program, the period was from January 2021, and it ran for a period of 3 years, including on December 31st, 2023. We are recording this video in 2025 based on the 2021 syllabus. So the program was then open to registered taxpayers who had undisclosed tax liabilities for periods commencing January 1st, 2015? Yeah, 2015 up to June 30th of 2020. But there were certain taxpayers who were excluded, such as those who were already under audit or investigations, or who are party to ongoing litigation concerning the tax liability being disclosed. So in this lesson, we will not go much into this program because it is not relevant today, but we can briefly maybe discuss some of the benefits of the program. The taxpayers who made full disclosure under the Voluntary Tax Disclosure Program were eligible for a waiver of penalties and interest on their disclosed taxes. So the level of relief depended on when the disclosure was made within the 3 years period. So one benefit of this program is that the disclosure made within the first year, that is by December 31st, 2021, there was 100% waiver of penalties and interest. Disclosure made within the second year, that is by the end of 31st December 2022, there was 50% waiver of penalties and interest. And disclosure made within the third year, that is up by December 31st, 2023, there was a 25% waiver of penalties and interest. And upon successful application and payment of the principal tax, the Voluntary Tax Disclosure Program certificate was issued, and the taxpayer would not be prosecuted with respect to the tax liabilities disclosed under the program. That was then up to 2023. December. So what is the current status? What is the current status? We've seen that this program, candidates, this program was in place from January 1st, 2021 to December 30th, 2023. 2021 to 2023. Currently, there followed a tax amnesty. In 20, tax amnesty was in place. In 2024, 2025. There was, after this program, a tax amnesty in 2024 and 2025. Now, while the original voluntary tax disclosure program concluded on 31st December 2023, the Kenya government introduced a subsequent tax amnesty initiative, which was enacted through the Finance Act 2023, enacted through the Finance Act 2023. It was enacted through the Finance Act of 2023. The Finance Act of 2023, and further guided by the Tax Procedures Amendment Act of 2024. So this tax amnesty provides for a waiver of penalties, interest, and fines on tax debts that accrued for periods up to 31st December 2023. Okay, up to 2023, December 2023, up to this period. There was a waiver on of the penalties, interest, and fines on tax debt. Now, the amnesty commenced in 2024, and it was set to run until June 2025. Until June, so that amnesty is still in place. It was set to run up to June 2025. Now, the taxpayers with penalties, interest, or fines for periods up to December 31st, 2023 are the ones that are eligible for this tax amnesty. The taxpayers who had penalties, interest, or fines, okay, up to that period. And that's what we can say, candidates, as regards the voluntary tax disclosure. I'm getting into the tax amnesty, which is not part of the syllabus, but just to help you understand that the voluntary tax disclosure program ended in December 2023. We are in 2025. Okay. After the voluntary tax disclosure program, the government introduced a tax incentive. Amnesty. I mean, a tax amnesty. The government introduced a tax amnesty initiative, which was enacted through the Finance Act of 2023. And it's guided by this act and the amendment of the Tax Procedures Act. Okay? So the voluntary tax disclosure program ran for 3 years, ending December 2023. But there was a new window of opportunity under the tax amnesty, which is currently available until 30th June 2025, which allows taxpayers to clear historical tax dates December 31st, 2023. The tax amnesty applies to the dates that were in place for the taxpayers up to December 2023. And they benefit there are various benefits to taxpayers as a result of this tax amnesty. So that's why we will not go too much into the Voluntary Tax Disclosure Program, which is part of the syllabus. I hope that helps you understand maybe why the examiner may not be testing the Voluntary Tax Disclosure Program, because it is, as we speak, outdated. But in place we have the tax amnesty, which you should be conversant with. The tax amnesty, you need to also be conversant with what are the benefits. I've outlined the benefits of the voluntary tax disclosure to the taxpayers who apply. But there are also benefits that may accrue under the tax amnesty. Okay? One benefit is that if the principal tax for periods up to 31st December has already been paid, then the waiver of associated penalties and interest is automatic and no application is required. Number two, if the principal tax for periods up to December 31st, 2023 has not been paid, then the taxpayer must apply for the amnesty through the iTax system and commit to paying the outstanding principal by June 30th, 2025. So the penalties and the interest related to those principals will be waived upon full payment of the principal amount within the amnesty period. And that's the benefit. Are required to pay the principal tax by 2022 in order to enjoy the waiver on interest, penalties, and fines. Okay? And it's important to note that the amnesty generally does not cover principal tax itself, and even penalties and interest related to tax debts accrued after December 31st, 2023. It only relates to debts that were in place up to December 2023, not after. You understand? Yes. And taxpayers with ongoing disputes are encouraged to resolve them within the amnesty period to benefit from this tax amnesty. So that's the end of the lesson on Voluntary Tax Disclosure Program. Bye-bye.